My gut feeling made me read into the journal of my husband after we had a fight, and this might have saved my life. My husband, 37M, has kept a semi-regular journal throughout our 4-year relationship. He does not keep it hidden, and up until now, I, 33F, have always respected his privacy. Recently, we had a very heated conversation, however, and my gut feeling told me to check it out after he left for work, to which I did. I was not ready for what he had written, however. He wrote several times that he hates me, and at one point he even wrote down that, when I was sick, he hoped I would pass away. When I read those words, I packed up immediately and took our baby to a friend's house where I'm staying now. I took pictures of all the pages and informed my husband that I just needed some space to cool off after our conversation and would be home soon. I booked a session with my therapist and contacted a lawyer. Now, we had been going through a rough patch recently that lasted about 2 weeks. It was a dark time, but I had the feeling that we were managing well. There was no violence, no moments where I was afraid of him, and just sincere conversations about difficult feelings. The notes of hatred correspond with the timing of that rough patch. Other parts of the journal I had read through are tame and reflect the man I know and love. They are mostly little self-pep talks around work, family stuff, goals and habit tracking. Since I have left, he has sent me several warm messages and says that he's glad I'm taking space for myself. He has told me that he looks forward to reconnecting when I come home, and it's okay to have little hiccups. He also keeps saying that he loves me and hopes I will be feeling better soon. All of this confuses me so much. When I read those lines in his journal, I was sure our relationship was over. Reading that he hates me and even wishes for me to pass away are not things you would expect from your husband and have scared me quite a bit. I really do not know what to think of him right now. I understand the need to blow off steam when things are tense, and journaling is a healthy way to do that, but never in our darkest moments have I fantasized about his passing. Splitting up maybe, but this just feels so sinister. I don't know how I could ever feel safe around him ever again. Is this just healthy venting from him, and am I overreacting here? Has anyone else had similar thoughts about a spouse that they then got over? Or is this a man I need to protect myself and my baby from? Edit to add context. The rough patch I mentioned before was about his feelings for another woman. He didn't cheat, but his friendship with her started to make me feel uncomfortable. The part of the journal where he says he hates me was written as a love letter to her. He specifically mentioned that he had been thinking about me passing away and being replaced by her. Update 1. Thank you so much for all the advice and words of encouragement. Some of it was really tough to read, but still deeply appreciated. I wanted to do an update because a lot of people were concerned for my safety. I was given some advice and sent the pictures to a trusted friend. She pointed out that a passage I initially read as, "Every day I think about telling her," actually very clearly says unaliving her. I guess my brain couldn't comprehend that at first, but that advice might have actually saved my life. After I had some time to digest reading this, I called to a crisis line, and they were quite helpful in talking me through the shock. They also put me in touch with a center that would be able to help me further and would set me up with affordable legal help. Apart from this, I have also been able to buy some more time from my husband by telling him that I have been enjoying getting out of town and that I was planning to stay an extra night or two. I have a therapy appointment tomorrow and will meet up with a social worker in order to make a safety plan. At this moment, I really feel like I have an amazing crew of family, friends, and professionals supporting me. I have absolutely zero regrets about reading his journal now, and I'm so glad that my gut feeling told me something was off. I could have never imagined a worst-case scenario as bad as this, but it clearly shows you that you should always follow your gut feeling. I'm so glad the inner alarm bells were louder than my conscience this time. Nothing about this marriage is worth risking my life. Update 2. Once again, I just wanted to say a huge thanks to everyone in this community for helping me through a challenging time. Your comments and messages have been such a comfort, and I'm so touched by the kindness of internet strangers. At the suggestion of the social worker, I have reported his journal to the local police, which was, quite unsurprisingly, a 1 out of 10 experience. The officer I spoke to scolded me for reading into his journal and spoke about his reasonable expectation of privacy. He basically threatened to tell my husband I had reported him, and I had to firmly advocate for myself and stress the fact that I was afraid for my life. It was an awful conversation, But now there is at least a record which includes photos of the journal. With regards to the family lawyer I spoke with, he advised me to file a protection order right away. This order would ban him from all contact with me, our child, bar him from our residence, my workplace, and any other places I would request. In order to get this overturned, he would have to prove to a judge that he is a fit parent before he would be allowed to see his daughter again, which would in turn allow me to lay out the evidence against him. Now, there is another annoying thing in this whole situation, namely that we own a business together. I have an appointment with another lawyer this week to discuss what my options here are. The business was my idea, and I'm confident that I can run it without him, but he's put a lot of time into it, and it's the main source of income for both of us right now. It's a good moneymaker, and I'm worried he will fight me tooth and nail on this. We take turns going in for work, so I went as usual on Saturday, with a friend and a baseball bat, and I continued my act of intending to reconcile, for example by doing video calls with the baby. Now you might think this story is already pretty wild, but when I got to our workplace, I found another journal. I decided to read this one as well, and it was page after page love letters to this other woman, going back months. The progression from, "I liked seeing you at the grocery store," to, "I drove past your house today," was wild. He wrote about how deeply in love he is with her, and on how he can't wait to marry her. He had written down about every interaction he's ever had with her, and the poor woman seems completely innocent and oblivious. Even what he perceived as flirting seemed like basic politeness, and he mentioned a few other times that he wanted me to pass away. The most recent entry was from the day before, which read that he thinks I might be breaking up with him, but that's fine with that, because he never really liked me that much anyway. It also said that the only thing he will be upset about is the fact that he will be losing the house and how the breakup will be perceived by our friends and community. Now I am curious if you guys think I should warn this other woman. My gut feeling is telling me not to, at least not before the ink dries on our impending paperwork. After reading all of this, I was pretty concerned about how he might react to being served with the protection order, as he clearly seemed worried with his public image. I started to fear that he might try to sabotage our business or trash the house, so I made a plan to confront him about the journals and use the protection order as leverage. Now, here's how it went down. I left the journal and my baby with my friend, and went to our house with 2 trusted male friends, and the baseball bat. They waited on our porch, and I told my husband that if they heard anything louder than a speaking voice, they would come in with the bat. I informed him that I had to tell him something he wouldn't like to hear, and that he needed to know that I had already taken steps to protect myself. I told him that I had read the journals, specifically what he said about wanting me to pass away, and him thinking every day about unaliving me. I said to him that I had taken photos, that they were backed up, and that a trusted source had copies. He tried to convince me that it was just him venting about his feelings, but I told him that I would not be taking any chances, and at this point was no longer interested in his side of the story. After reading the horrible things that I read, I will never trust him or feel safe around him ever again. I told him that no one, aside from the trusted contacts with the photos, knows about this yet. The men on the porch only knew that I'm breaking up with him and needed support. I said to my husband that I am willing to protect his reputation if he cooperates with me. I told him that I would even refrain myself from ruining his chances with the other woman, but that he would have to do as I say. I concluded with saying that he can either do what I need to feel safe, or I can have that safety court ordered. To this, he asked me what I wanted, and I said I wanted him to give up on the business. I told him that we would sort out the details at a later date, but that for now I simply wanted his keys, so he would no longer have access to the place. Him, clearly looking defeated, didn't put up any kind of fight. He didn't even ask about our baby, and just calmly got up, passed me the keys, and asked if there was anything else that I'd want. I told him that any communication with me should only be about separation logistics, and that he should refrain from any further contact with me. To this he also agreed, at least at the time. After I walked out, he has been blowing up my phone, trying to sweet-talk me into coming back, and even suggesting going to couples therapy. Each time, I remind him about the agreement we had made and tell him that he is crossing my boundaries and should back off. The last couple of days he has not reached out to me, however, so it seems that he is finally getting the point. With regards to myself, I have temporarily moved in with my parents. My commute to work is longer, but I have help with the baby and home-cooked dinners, so I cannot really complain. I am starting to settle into new routines, doing a lot of therapy and yoga. I inherited a small cabin before my husband and I met, and it is currently being renovated, and I am planning to move in with my baby when it is done. I'm quite happy that I will soon have a permanent home for me and baby. For now, the dust still needs to settle, and it could get worse before it gets better. But I'm optimistic at this point. I'm confident that I'm going to come out on the good side of all this, and will kick some ass as a single mom with an incredible child. I will have a thriving business and an adorable little home with all the support of my family that I could wish for. Honestly, the thought of having all those things on my own, without my husband, is making me feel so free. Once again, I would like to thank all of you for your advice and supporting comments. Hopefully, everything will turn out fine. Now, for story 2. My fiancé suddenly gave me an ultimatum to either cut ties with my ex, or she would end our relationship. So, firstly, some background. My ex-girlfriend, Emma, 26F, and I, 26M, were together for 9 years. We got together when we were 13, broke things off when we were 22, and were friends since first grade. We grew up together, our families became quite close, and our friendship circles were always intertwined at some point or another. This info will be important later. We drifted in different directions as we got older, and we realized that what we wanted from our relationship was completely different. We no longer had romantic feelings for one another, so we decided that we would be better off as friends. There hasn't been anything romantic since we broke up, and nothing of a sexual nature either. It's mostly limited to a quick hug here and there to say goodbye at most. I truly haven't felt that way about her since things ended, and she's feeling the same way. The breakup was very amicable. Now, to the issue. My fiancée, Sarah, 24F, and I have been together for almost 3 years, and I proposed a few days ago. We are set to be married this year. I was so happy when she said yes, as our relationship has been great, with amazing communication, and we're always smiling when we are together. Really, it's been wonderful. She knew about my past with Emma, as I was very upfront with her about it when we first began dating, because Emma and I are still friends. Our families still get together for sporting events, have parties, and hang out all of the time. My parents are really close to hers, and our siblings, 22M, 25F, 17F, 18F, and 19M, are good friends too. They are all really close and even have a weekly pizza night. I didn't want Sarah to feel uncomfortable at any point, so I tried really hard to let her know everything I could, and have always put in the work to take the right steps to show her she is my number one. I have always included her in family events, made sure my family would spend time with her, and have even tried to create our own rituals together. I adore this girl. I think she is incredible, and from the day that I met her, I have been head over heels. She hadn't voiced a single problem to me about any of this until today. Before, she would even encourage me to invite Emma over to get-togethers we have hosted, or along to movies or dinner with our other friends. I was under the impression Sarah really liked her, especially considering the extra effort she would make to include her. Sarah and Emma have always gotten along, and they haven't been anything but nice to one another. I really thought they were friends. Today she told me, however, that after taking time to think about it, our friendship is weird and shouldn't continue. She gave me an ultimatum. Either I would end my friendship with Emma, or she will end the relationship. She said she feels disrespected, that I would even consider keeping someone I had a prior relationship with in my life. When she broke this news to me, I couldn't get a single word in before she left. She's staying with a friend tonight. I really don't understand where this is suddenly coming from. I don't know what to do right now. My fiancé has been blowing up my phone with texts, and I don't know what to say. Emma and I are just friends. Not overly close, though, but we definitely don't cross any kind of boundaries together. We don't speak about anything inappropriate and don't do anything we should not do. She is also in a relationship at the moment, so we no longer talk every day and don't see each other very frequently anymore. Sarah has also mentioned that she is uncomfortable with our families spending so much time together after we have broken up, and also wants me to put an end to that behavior. I can't control what my family does, who they see, or who they are friends with. They have been nothing but kind to Sarah, and they have truly made a real effort to make her feel special and even include her family. I don't know what to do. Is my friendship wrong? And should I talk to our families? Or is this ultimatum unfair? Edit. I just want to mention that Emma and I are no longer close. I see her at events she is also invited to, or when Sarah invites her along with us and our friends to do something. I don't actively seek her out for one-on-one time or invite her to places myself. I don't even message or text her anymore. Our families are close, parents are best friends, and our siblings grew up together. They still have sleepovers. This means that I still see her at places, or run into her, which is really hard to avoid. I wanted to make this clear, so you can clearly see that I have made an effort to set up boundaries, so I would make it as comfortable as can be for Sarah. Update 1. It's been a very eventful 3 days, and after all of the advice I was given on my last post, I thought I would share an update. I want to thank everyone for their words of wisdom and kindness. I really appreciated it. This update is long and not what I was hoping for, but what happened has happened. So, I couldn't get a hold of Sarah for 2 days as she wouldn't answer my calls or messages. I had left her a voicemail asking her to come home or to meet up somewhere for coffee, let her know that I loved her, and mentioned once again that she would always be first. But I heard nothing back. She's never been like this before. If we had an issue, we would always talk it through, and we had even made a pact to never go to bed mad at one another, which until today we succeeded in. But this time, she didn't come home and didn't even reply to me. At first, I thought she just wanted some time to cool down, but I just couldn't stop thinking about it and could barely get any sleep. The next day, I texted her, explaining I would do whatever I could to show her how much she means to me. I explained the only reason I saw Emma was at gatherings for mutual friends and family, or when she would invite Emma to come along with us. I reminded her that she didn't have to do that, as it was not something I really wanted. I even caved in and said that I would try to no longer attend any gatherings I knew Emma would also attend to at all. Next to this, I tried my best to explain that our families were very close before Emma and I got together, and that I couldn't control who they were friends with. I said to her that we could talk though, and that we would maybe come up with something together that would make her feel more comfortable. My final text was me letting her know that both I and my family loved her. Now, she didn't reply to any of my texts and kind of gave up for the day. Fast forward to the next day, in the afternoon, at which point she still gave me radio silence. I tried to call her again, but it rang out, so I sent her another message, telling her I just wanted to know if she was okay, and that if I didn't hear back from her soon, I would have to start calling her family or her friends. At this point, I started to panic a bit because I was afraid something had happened to her. This kind of behavior was so out of character for her, as she had never done this before. When the evening hit, I suddenly got a text message that simply read, "I'm fine, and I'm not coming home." That was it. When I got this message, I instantly tried to call her, as I knew she was right there and figured she would pick up. I called, but apparently she had turned her phone off, so I was back at square one. I didn't know what to do or how to feel. It felt like my heart had been ripped out of my chest, and I just wanted to talk so that I could make it better. Feeling in despair, I ended up going to my parents. They live close, about 5 minutes away, as I was an absolute mess and didn't think I would cope by myself. It was about 8 p.m. when I went over, hadn't heard from her again, so decided to go to bed in the spare room. Now, I was only asleep for a few hours when shit started to hit the fan. My phone was going off, and it was Sarah. I picked up, and she started screaming, "Where are you? Did you run back to her?" I had no idea what she was talking about, and simply replied that I was at my parents' house. I told her I was coming home immediately, and begged her to please just stay. I was fumbling, trying to get myself dressed and find my keys, but as it was about 2 a.m. in the morning, I kept dropping everything. I was about halfway out the door, and that's when it happened. She pulled up into the driveway and was absolutely livid when she got out of the car. She was screaming at me, yelling her head off, and no matter what I did, she wouldn't calm down. The street my parents live on is fairly echoey, and as she was very loud, people started flicking their lights on, and our neighbors started to come out onto their porches. It truly was a shit show. My parents came outside too, and my mother attempted to calm her down. They have always gotten along well, and she wasn't responding to me no matter how much I tried. Sarah wasn't having it, however, and she claimed that she knew what I had been doing behind her back, that her family knew, and that I was lucky enough to be given a chance to cut my ties and move on after having an affair for so long. Just to remind you all, I have never cheated on her, let alone have an affair. I love Sarah, to the point that I wanted to marry her and be with her. It didn't matter what I said, however, as she clearly didn't want to believe me, and she wouldn't listen to a single word I said. She kept calling me every name under the sun, to the point where my mother asked her to please come inside to talk. She tried to remind Sarah that it was a misunderstanding, that I loved her, that they loved her, and that we just needed to talk it through. Sarah started calling my mom a terrible mother, a shitty person, and told her that she knew exactly what I was doing. She said how she despised a mother that could encourage this behavior, and how sick my mother was for it. My mother tried a final time to explain herself, and that's when Sarah slapped her, out of nowhere, full force. I went silent, my mother started to cry, and Sarah started apologizing. It really looked like it was instant regret, but it didn't matter. I ended it right there. I told her to go, told her the engagement was off, and that we were over. I told her that she needed to get her things from my house and would have to find another place to sleep. She was crying, still trying to apologize, but for me, you can't come back from that. She hit my mother, who had shown her all the love in the world. For her to do that to someone, let alone someone that means so much to me, is something I cannot forgive. I don't know why she wouldn't listen to me, and I don't know why she chose to believe other people over me. I really don't understand that she had never brought this up, or even asked me about it. But now it is too late, and it doesn't matter anymore. I have never felt this empty. I gave 3 years of my life to someone who refused to even talk to me or believe me. I thought I knew her, and really believed that she was a kind person. How can you go so long with someone, and not even know what they could be capable of? All I know at this point is that I plan to stay single for a while, and have no idea how my life will look like for the upcoming months.